Hey friends, thanks for taking time to listen in on a conversation Dick and I had with Joe Saward, one of Formula One's most independent and insightful journalists. Listener Drew asks, would driving Monaco in reverse make the racing better? It's a clever way of asking the real question. Is Monaco broken? And as you'll hear, the answer is more complicated than you might expect. But before we get to our conversation, I need to ask, can you help us out? If this show adds value to your F1 experience, please take a moment to follow us and give us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app. Share this episode with other F1 fans. That's how people find us, and it's how we keep growing this community. Hope you enjoy our conversation. Okay, gentlemen, we have another great question from Drew. Do you think driving the Monaco circuit in the opposite direction would make the racing better or worse? So I love this question because it's a clever way of asking the real question, and which is, in my opinion, is Monaco broken? And if it is, can we fix it without losing what makes it special? So Joe, you've been going to Monaco since the 1980s. Let's dig into this. Okay, Monaco is
The early 1980s, unfortunately.
the early 1980s. Monaco is simultaneously the most prestigious race on the calendar and often the actual most worst racing, I would say. Most worst. That was the terrible grammar. Let me say that again. Often the worst actual racing. How does F1 reconcile that? Can we admit that Saturday qualifying matters more than Sunday's race without diminishing the event?
This is an interesting point because it's a question of style of racing. Americans like to see a style of racing that's different because it's more showbiz. You know, the Daytona 500 ends up with 4 guys, you know, they've all been put together by caution periods or whatever. And then, you know, you get 2 laps at the end, everyone goes through, they all crash into each other and one crosses the line a tiny bit ahead of the others, and that's awfully exciting. The fact that 300 miles before then has been dull as toast is not nothing here and there. But Monaco is a race that began in 1929, okay?
Yep.
And the streets haven't really changed since 1929. Yes, the track's changed a little bit here and there, but it's narrow, it's steep, it's difficult. There are buildings, you can't knock them down to make runoff areas. That's not how it's done. So Monaco is a chronological freak. At the same time, it's massive. It is Formula One's biggest and most popular race. And if you've been there, you understand just what it's all about. Because to see those guys driving around that place, particularly in qualifying, and they're absolutely flat out, is the most amazing thing. You just go, these guys are nuts. These guys are amazing. So when it comes to the race, and they can't necessarily do that. Sure, it looks boring, but Monaco is all about atmosphere as well. It's the most extraordinary place. I hate it and I love it at the same time. Every year I go there, I hate it and I love it because it is just the place, the thing. It's fantastic. And yet it's a pain in the neck because some of the people are really horrid. But it is the experience more than anything else. And I always say to everybody, any race fan in the world, just go see it and you'll have a different view. You will appreciate it differently. And okay, so yeah, overtaking is difficult. But you know, in the old days, cars used to break down and people used to crash a lot more than they do. So the order didn't always remain the same. The trouble is the sport's so professional now that everyone starts, everyone finishes, and everyone doesn't make mistakes. And so you tend to end up with the same starting order or same finishing order that you started with. To go back to the question, if you run it the wrong way around, you can't run it the wrong way around on the grounds of safety. You'd have to knock down about 10 buildings to actually have runoff areas, and you can't do that. And otherwise, they'd be going headlong into barriers, head first, and you can't do that. It's not acceptable. So, and you'd have to knock down some major hotels as well. I think you'd have to knock down the Café de Paris, for example, or the Hotel de Paris in Casino Square. That would certainly have to change because there's just no runoff. So you can't do it. It's kind of irrelevant, really. Most tracks, you can't turn them around and do it in the other direction for exactly that same reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dick, so let me ask you this then. If we could all of a sudden start knocking down, this is probably going to get a lot of hate mail, talk about hate mail, but like if we start knocking down things and reconfiguring as a person who races and you've engineered, if you were designing Monaco from scratch today, not from back in the 20s, for modern F1 cars, what would you change? Not cosmetically, but I'm talking about fundamentally. Where would you add some width? Which cars or which corners would you reconfigure?
Well, I'm not sure I'm the guy to answer that question, but I would tell you, I'm saying this through the lens that my daughter went to Monaco, not for the Grand Prix, but she was there and she walked the streets and she came back and she said, Dad, whatever you see in TV, it doesn't matter because when you see it in real life, much to what Joe was saying, she says, I don't know how these guys do it. And I mean, she's a pretty switched on racing fan in her own right. But when Kayla told me that, I was kind of like, oh, okay. And then she started showing me some of the pictures and photographs flatten everything out, and TV really flattens things out. Oh my goodness, that climb up to the casino square,
Absolutely.
unbelievable,
Yeah.
crazy.
Alongside that, as they're climbing up, there's a cliff. There's no room for runoff. There's a cliff, and that's what you got to bear. And on the way back down the other side, it's the same thing. So there's just not much you can do.
Yeah, and so what you've got is you have a track that has over time, it hasn't evolved, but the cars have evolved massively, and so basically you have the proverbial bull in a china closet. I think qualifying for Monaco is probably the most spectacular thing in motor racing that I can think of, other than maybe qualifying for the Indy 500, which is a totally different deal, but in both cases requires enormous skill and courage on either one of them, really, because disaster is so close because in Monaco, those barriers are right there, man. All you have to do is miss it by half an inch and your weekend's over. It's just an incredible display of the skill and talent that these guys have. Now, if you were to go and say, well, you know what, I think we could probably add an extra half mile to the circuit distance and maybe that would space things out a little bit more or something like that. I've heard talk about that. I'm not sure how that would work because Monaco proper is tiny. I mean, it's basically running from one of their borders to the other border, of the country. So
Sometimes you see people, they draw a map and they go, well, what happens if they did this? And you go, well, actually, that hairpin there, it's like 200 feet between here and here. So you can't have a hairpin there because it would just be like crash because they don't see the topography of it. And your point about cameras flatten everything, absolutely 100%. When you go and see it, you just go, wow. And you know what? In 1929, when they first proposed the idea, the racing magazines at the time went, "This is completely mad." In 1929, they said, "This is completely mad."
So, Joe, you've done obviously quite a bit of research for some of the books that you've written about Monaco and the people around it. And I'll let you plug the book if you wish. But when they were putting this together, was there a lot of resistance to those first few races? Like the people in the country of Monaco were like, "Are you crazy? We don't want this interruption." Or, I mean, obviously, it's become such a fixture today. You wouldn't ever think of not having it.
Well, I think the answer to that is that, Monaco, if you actually go back in history, Monaco always needed something to draw people. They built a casino on a rock in the middle of nowhere, to which a train went. Now, having a casino and a couple of nice hotels is all right. You've got to amuse people when they're there. So they have to do stuff. And so they had circuses and they had shooting competitions and all the sort of things you did at that time. And in the 20s, it moved on to tennis. And then cars came along. But even before that, back in 1911, I think it was, I'd have to check, but they invented the Monte Carlo Rally. So people would drive from all over Europe to go to Monaco. And they had hill climbs as well outside Monaco. And so cars were part of the thing. And it was part of the whole promotion of the casino and Monaco as a destination. When they decided to do the Grand Prix, I think most people realized, well, we've got to get people to keep coming. It doesn't matter if it's sailing or I think the Schneider Trophy aviation races took place one year at Monaco. All these kind of things. And there were cultural events. There'd be the Russian ballet or whatever. There were always things happening at Monaco. But the main motivation about all of it was to get people to go to the casino and leave their money behind.
Fascinating. And it makes perfect sense. They've got to have something to draw the people.
Which is actually, that's what Grand Prix racing does pretty much everywhere. People pay a lot of money because it works. And, Las Vegas, the people in Las Vegas love Formula One because it's filled up all the hotels, it's filled up the shops. At a quiet time of year, okay, it's rarely quiet. The Grand Prix, I think the first Grand Prix was the biggest weekend that Las Vegas had ever had, or something like that, which is insane. But that's what it does. And that's why people want it. And that's why Monaco want it. And that's why wherever we go want it. And sometimes, okay, you go to places where it's not quite about bringing in tourists, it's about making their country look nicer or whatever the motivations are. We go there and we put on shows for whichever reason it is. We go there because they pay us a bunch of money. But at the end of the day, what the justification for that spending is another question.
I mean, you think about like a Baku. Ever since they've had that race, I mean, it's completely changed people's opinion of that city and just the whole deal. You go and you see it, and it's like, wow, they talk about medieval times meeting modern world. That city is it. Yeah, it's to your point, right? I mean, it really is.
It put Baku on the map completely. But I think the best example of that is actually Singapore. I went through Singapore probably 50 times through the airport. Never went in because it had a bad reputation. It was just, disciplinary, dull, all these things. The first time I went in there, it's like, why haven't I come here before? And the race, which was Formula One's first ever night race, was absolutely brilliant. It was just spectacular. The atmosphere was amazing, and it's a fantastic event. But we didn't even think of going into Singapore before then, and it literally changed the image of the country overnight. And the tourism industry has grown every year ever since.
No, I believe it. I've been to Singapore for a very short time, and I thought it was a very interesting city. I would love to go back for the Grand Prix. It was quite a trip, but that's another story. Sabrina?
Let me ask you this. From a business standpoint, you're making the case that Monaco seems untouchable, the glamour, the sponsor value, the global attention, the tourism. But from a sporting standpoint, it's arguably one of, if not the weakest race that we see over the course of the season. How do you think Liberty does about thinking about that trade-off? Do they care that the racing is processional if the commercial value is there?
If the commercial value is there, it's absolutely important. But I think the best way of looking at it is that there are certain elements that Formula One is because of them. There aren't many of them, but for me, there are two things you have to have in Formula One. One is Ferrari and one is Monaco. Ferrari can disappear, but there'll never be another Ferrari. The way that team, the magic of Ferrari. There'll never be another Monaco, the magic of Monaco. There's lots of people build racetracks around harbors these days trying to be Monaco, but none of them make it because it's not Monaco. And that's, I think, most important. And I tell you what, when you walk around Monaco on a Friday night Friday night now, in the old days, Friday used to be the day off, but nowadays it's a racing day. But you go around there and you stand there and you listen to the world of growling supercars and champagne glasses chinking on the boats and the waves lapping against the sides of these hundreds of super yachts. It's really hard to beat. It's like sort of, wow, this is just the sexiest place in the world. And that's part of it. That's one of the reasons that Formula One goes there. It's because it is. And it's not at the same time, because sometimes the people driving the growling supercars, this is part of it. So it's not just about the racing, and it's not just about, it's like going to Wimbledon. And if they banned strawberries and cream at Wimbledon, it probably wouldn't be the same experience, would it? Or whatever, be it Super Bowl or Indy 500 or whatever it is. These things have lives of their own. And to mess with those lives of their own is a really bad idea. Le Mans, classic example. Le Mans is absolutely mesmerizing if you go there for the 24 hours. The Spa 24 hours is fantastic. The Nürburgring 24 hours on the old ring is fantastic. But all these things have these values, and they have these traditions, and they have these sentiments. It's all about sentiment, emotion.
Well, so I guess then that leads me to the question is, how do you convey that in an era now where attention is what all businesses are really trying to, especially in the media space, are competing against, where what you just said resonates deeply with me. I guess what I find recently is new or non-fans, when you tell them you're a fan of Formula One and they go, oh, isn't that race in Monaco? Or they connect to that, which I think is great. Then you convince them to sit down and watch it, and it's a processional, and they look at you like, why do you care about this sport? It's not the glamour. I guess I'm saying is it's a disconnect of how do we translate to people why Monaco still matters and why Formula One is something that they should pay attention to if they're not going to the places. Do you see my
I
dilemma?
see your point, and I think the answer to that has been answered already. Um, because this is the reason Formula One has grown so dramatically in recent years is fundamentally down to a thing called Drive to Survive. And Drive to Survive took people behind the scenes to show you what the real people are like. It's not just about the driver going up there and doing his 20-second soundbite. It's about the real people. Gunther Steiner has become massively famous because he swears a lot. It's not put on. Gunther's always sworn a lot. That's him. And what Drive to Survive did is it humanized the sport. And that's what people want. They want human. People relate to people. And that's why it's been so successful. And that's why everyone's tried to copy it as well. Because, so many people are trying to do these fly on the wall things nowadays. And I think we're about to have the 8th season of Drive to Survive, which I think comes out in a couple of weeks from now. It's a weird thing. And apparently Netflix can't really understand it because normally their shows go down in series 2, 3, 4. And Drive to Survive keeps on going up, I believe. I mean, they don't publish all the numbers, but it's a classic example, and it's a brilliant piece of marketing by Formula One of just make it about people, because that's what it is.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. I have some thoughts, but I know time is running away from us. So we'll just have to make that another follow-up. I'm putting this all on the list, follow-up conversations. And if anything, thank you, Drew, for sending this delightful conversation to make us have to analyze something as classic and so embedded inside of Formula One, which is Monaco, and kind of you're a little heretical, in my opinion, as saying we should do it in reverse, which is great. We love all that. So thank you, gentlemen, for this conversation.
Thank you.
Been fun.
Okay, friends, what did you think of this conversation? We'd love to hear from you. What questions are you wrestling with? What should we dive into next? Send them to Sabrina at 2guysagirlandf1.com. We read every single one, and frankly, your questions are usually more interesting than what we've come up with on our own. And with that, let me say, this ends our conversation. But we'll keep talking and you can keep listening in because we're just 2 guys, a girl, and F1. For John, Dick, and me, Sabrina, thanks for listening.